beautiful listeners. Welcome to this week's podcast. You're listening to your least favorite podcast. My name is Shanze Reza, and I'll be hosting this episode, Artist Anna Arising. Hope you guys are doing very well. I'm going to let Anna take the floor. By the way, am I pronouncing it right? Your name?
I pronounce it as Anna.
Or Anna. Okay, all right.
A lot
Frozen
of
just took
people say
over my head.
Anna.
All right. Perfect.
It's all right.
You have the floor. Let us know. I want to know, firstly, just establishing who you are outside of singing. Are you someone maybe just like some tunes? Are you a creative? Are you an environmentalist? Like, I just want to know who we have today.
I feel like outside of singing, I am just a regular girl who loves to listen to a lot of Taylor Swift, chill with her cat, who, by the way, is in the background today. There licking herself.
Oh, hi,
And
gorgeous.
her name's Boo. And I love to watch a lot of murder mysteries. Just a regular girl.
Love it.
What? You're excited about?
Yes, because I mean, I don't know any young woman who doesn't listen to that. Yeah. Just
Do you watch Billy Therian?
I don't, but we're gonna have to
You
talk.
should. She's on YouTube. You should watch her.
Okay, I will. Beautiful. Um, I know that a lot of solo artists that come from bands don't love to talk about that part of their career, but I would love to have like just a trailer, a snippet of that. Departing from a band and establishing your solo career. I just want to know what that looks and feels like because I know there's a lot of like when any person in the media has done something previously, whether it's some work or whether it's a TV show, a lot of fans like to say like, "Oh, but remember when you did this?" It's like, "I remember, but I'm doing this right now." So let's talk about this. How does that look and feel, and would you ever go back to being a band in a band?
You know what? I've thought about that because people remember you as a part of the band. They don't remember you as a single person now or as a solo artist now. But for me, it was incredibly lonely because people had associated me with the band. And when I separated from that, at first they didn't even notice that I was gone. And that was so hurtful. It was so hurtful. I was like, oh, what is happening? Why aren't they noticing? Because these guys were putting out music and nobody was noticing that I wasn't there. And I had to be like, could you guys please at least let them know that I'm not there any longer? And, but for me, it has been very incredibly lonely. Because that is what it feels like that you're starting your career over again. You have to build yourself up again, and it was just really sad for me.
Oh
But
my
I think I'm doing better. I think the best part of this is that you get to release music that expresses your own story.
Absolutely.
At first, with the band, it was mostly you have to be careful about what you're saying in your music and what you represent as an all girl band.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of diplomacy that comes with that. You guys have to be this perfect, political, approving
Yeah.
of all sides. But now you have your own ground. You have your own mic, literally and like musically, to speak your mind. So I guess it's a no to going to a band, going back to a band as for now in the near future.
I think that if I would, just like any other artist, I would have a band, but I would go by my name.
Okay.
I would be representing that, not like an all girl band or anything of that sort.
Yeah. That's so interesting because when you left, I immediately was like, oh, it's going to be so different. The dynamic is going to be different. The fact that they didn't make it a thing, it felt very corporate almost then. That, like, oh, you're leaving, you're departing, she's no longer with us musically. That feels so like, let's be quiet about it. Let's be mute. Let's not, like, make a ruckus about it. So then they can just kind of, like, have a smooth transition to bring on another band member. I don't like that.
That's all right. I don't blame them because I think they were also learning how to adjust to all of that because it was a very sudden decision where we just met and we were like, okay, I think this is not working because since a very long while we were a band of 10 girls and everybody everybody kept leaving every year. So we really got used to the idea that, oh, this person is leaving, now someone has to take the responsibilities of that person. And it got very tiring at one point. Um, so I think when this happened, the lead singer leaving, it was a big shock to them, and they had to adjust to that. I don't blame them for it.
Yeah.
So it took a while before they had to announce that.
Question to you then. Do you feel like what happens with like maybe One Direction or Fifth Harmony, do you have any solo artists that leave, or maybe when the band completely kind of takes their own roads, do you look to them as examples to see what steps they took?
I I don't. I haven't looked at them in that way because even with them, I think they still struggle because even Harry Styles or any one of them, they're still remembered as, oh, you were a part of One Direction. I think they themselves struggle with it.
Yes.
But the only thing that you could learn is what path they took and what decisions they made to make themselves, like, they could represent themselves and they could put themselves forward, like, oh, I'm this now and you have to accept this.
Yeah.
But I haven't really looked into that. I think I'm still finding my way around all of this.
And I think it's like it also doesn't help because I think music is so like it's almost like water. Like there's like no defining lines anymore in terms of genres, and like artists are collabing of all kinds. So we're always changing as human beings, as our music taste. So even that, like, fans do not support change. They do not like you. They like to be for you to be in their own, what they have dreamt up in your head, and if you don't come out to be like that, they're disappointed, and it's so hard to fulfill that. We're gonna come back to that and like the challenges of that, but let's make it a little lighter for a moment. Your song Company. This is my favorite question to ask anyone. What color does that come off as? If it was a color.
Company.
Yeah.
In my head, it's yellow.
Interesting. Like a bright yellow, like a tinted yellow. What are we thinking?
Like a bright yellow.
Okay. Because
I think it represents, for me, it represents freedom.
Similarly, yes.
Like letting go of someone, like just being done with someone's shit and be like, yeah, bye. It represents a bright yellow. Like, better days are here now.
Yeah. I would say mine's not too far off then. Mine is more like a minty green, or maybe like a very like
why is minty
pastel green? I'm not sure. That color just is very refreshing for me. It's very like calming, but also like awakening whenever I see that color. So I just associate your song Company and that color so close to each other. I hope that's not insulting.
Oh no, I would expect people to pick like darker colors because I was at Berkeley recently and I had this songwriting class and I showed that song to everybody and I said, well, this is my most upbeat song currently because I write sad songs, and they listened to it and they were like, at the end of it, they were like, this is your upbeat song?
Oh my god.
Like, what do you mean?
Once again, defining songs. It's so hard. Alright. Cool. Tell me about when you started doing this full-time or professionally or career, whatever you want, word you want to slap on there. When was it like hobby turned serious? Yes.
I have to tell this in portions. But from what my mom tells me, I was doing this since I was a child. Do you remember? I don't know if you grew up here, but there was like this Walls truck and the ice cream truck, and they had this. You didn't grow up here, but they had this melody that would go like na 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 na, and I butchered.
Yes,
that,
I have visited Pakistan though, and yes, I know that melody.
Well, when I was a kid, I would make up lyrics on top of that, and I'm pretty sure that they were terrible. But my mom tells me that I think, looking back, that might be like the start of my love for songwriting. And then in fourth and fifth grade, I started writing in fourth grade, because I started having these words in my head and I had started getting melodies in my head and I was trying to understand what was happening. And then in fifth grade, my dad got me this toy piano. And around that time, one of my teachers was leaving school and everybody everybody around me was so sad about it, and for some reason, I wasn't. So I put myself in this competition of being more sad about. I was like, oh no, I need to be sad. So I ended up writing a song for the very first time
Wow.
on that piano, but I didn't show it to anybody. And that in fifth grade was also the first time that I sang in front of everybody. I convinced my best friend to sing "Love Story" by Taylor in front of everybody,
Wow,
but
bold.
nobody responded.
Aw.
Nobody responded because I think it was break time after that. So they left for that. I was like, mean. And then I think it was in eighth grade and ninth grade that I started putting up songs on SoundCloud. And that was when I got a lot of people listening to it. And it was interesting.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I saw Nescafe Basement. That is when I decided to take it professionally.
Wow.
Um, one of my best friends, because I saw Nescafe Basement on YouTube, I messaged one of my friends. I was like, this is very interesting. I want to be able to do this. And he sent a message to Zulfi Bhai, who was producer of the show. And he was like, well, so what's the procedure to get in here? And around that time, they were taking online auditions, and I was having my exams. And I was like, this has got to wait. And after a while, I sent in my audition, and Zulfi Bhai spoke to me. He directly messaged me, and he was like, well, this is interesting. Could you do more of this and do more of that? He wanted me to sing more covers. And then he called me in, and I think I was in Islamabad for a holiday, and he was like, well, Anna, did you check the page? Did you check the Nescafe page? And I was like, no, what's up? And he was like, you should go and check. And I was sliding through that, and I saw my name. I was like, oh my god.
Oh my god.
But that was when I took it professionally. But before that, um, I also went to Pakistan Idol, and I don't tell people this. I went to Pakistan Idol when I think I don't remember how long ago this was, but I started Nescafe at 15, so this must be before that. But I saw that Pakistan Idol was happening, and around like a day before the auditions were supposed to happen, I convinced my mom to take me there, though she didn't know what I was talking about. And the next morning, I got up at like 5 a.m., got dressed, and I was like, my mom was sleeping, and I woke her up. I was like, yeah, we gotta go to this thing now. And it was in the summer, so it was super hot. And I made her stand in a huge line for the auditions. I went in there, and I didn't think that I could sing in English, so I chose this song. It was so cringe, but it was from that film Ashiki, the really popular song Sundra and Natsu. And I was like, ugh, and I sang that, and I was so terrible. I was so terrible.
Were you
But
terrible or
the
were you being humble?
What?
Were you terrible or are you being humble?
Oh no, I was terrible because I was with another girl and she sang the same song. Apparently, everybody at that audition was singing that song, and everybody was obviously so much better than I was because that was not my thing. And but the only good thing that I got out of that was that they showed my back twice in the ad.
Wow.
That's the only thing that I got out of that audition.
Okay. So
but I didn't get selected.
Okay, so you didn't get selected. What did you take from that in order to like improve, do better? How did you apply whatever you learned from that experience?
At first I was just really sad. But that was a point where I realized that, oh, this is not the language that I'm comfortable in. I don't have to force myself to push myself in this way just because everybody wants to listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I accepted that part, and I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on what I am good at.
Yeah. And practicing when you were like writing your songs, songwriting and all that, that was done mostly in English?
Yeah.
Okay, so where did the comfortability come from that? Because I know a lot of people that do know the language in Pakistan, do know English very well, doubt themselves in that. So were you just taught English at a young age, or like were you fascinated by the language? How about did that come?
I think from the starting, my brother really got me into English songs, and I was really fascinated by that. And then in fifth had an English teacher, and her rule was that you couldn't speak in Urdu in class, and if
Oh.
you were going to be fined. You were going to be fined. So that was around the time that I got really comfortable with the language, and I was really bad at Urdu from the start.
Oh.
I had my friend that would help me in class because I was that bad at Urdu. So it wasn't a thing that it was a thing that was always there, just me being bad at Urdu. So I was never comfortable with the language. But English was something I was comfortable with, so I started writing that
Okay.
in that language.
Isn't that the thing with Islamabad people that like they're like burgers and they don't like to be like culturally, I guess, like I don't know. I visited Pakistan like 2 years ago, and they were like, "You're." They thought I was from Islamabad or Lahore because of my accent and my, I guess
Mm-hmm.
my the way I walk or talk. It's for them to come to and find out that I'm from Canada. But I guess they have a lot of inspiration from outside culture, Western. Is that a stereotype that lives to be true, or not so much?
I think people like to label that,
Mm,
but I I I don't think they really know the meaning of a burger because if you search it up, it means that you're unaware of your surroundings and what is happening around you.
oh, so not
That
quite.
is the that is the real meaning of a burger, but people like to say it just because you live in your bubble.
Right. It's interesting. All
But
right.
I grew up in Lahore.
Yeah.
Do you feel like because you've been doing this for a while now and started at a younger age than most do, that you have some sort of benefit, or has the industry changed so much and because it's saturated, it doesn't give that same advantage? I really think unless you have the access to the resources that will enable you to get ahead in your career, I don't believe that starting earlier or younger necessarily it gives you an advantage over anybody else. However, being surrounded by the right people, that is more crucial and that is something that is overlooked. I believe I was fortunate in that sense because I began at Nescafe Basement. So I was surrounded by people who were at the top of their careers and they were willing to support my growth. And these guys had the connections, they had the experience and access to the resources that could benefit us in the longer run.
Let's talk about your music making process. And three questions here. What does that entail?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when the song is done, complete, ready to release? And are you independent or are you with a label?
Okay, first of all, I am independent,
Okay.
and my music writing process is very different each time. Um, for example, the first time that I think the first ever song that I released was with after Nescafe Basement that I did right on my own was one that I did with Hatem. It was called Back to the Start. But I top lined on that, which means that he sent me the music for it
Mm-hmm.
and I wrote on top of it.
Okay.
Um, that was like one way of doing it. The other times it was um, I usually get inspired after midnight. That is when my overthinking starts. So I get ideas in my head and I get on my piano and I start writing stuff. Um, or if I feel like there are words in my head and there are melodies in my head that are going around, I need to record them right there and then before I forget them.
Mm-hmm.
But if I am very uninspired, I will open up Logic Pro and I will use the samples and I will write whatever comes in my head on top of that. And if I get an idea from that, if I get something that I could make out of that, I will bring that. I will scratch the samples and I will bring that idea to the studio. Like, oh, we need to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but usually I think most of my songs remain incomplete. Not incomplete in the sense that I never finished them, but there are some that I wasn't ever able to finish because I couldn't understand what the ending might have been. But
Yeah.
you could really tell when a song is at its end. Um, the last song, for example, I think I'd like to think was something that was incomplete. But I was like, oh, I need to do this. I need to finish the song. I had the chorus for it ready already. I had written it a while ago, and the verses weren't done. So I think before the day that I had to go into the studio, I wrote the song. I made the structure in my head. I was like, we need to get done with this, and we need to put it out.
Yeah.
But it's always different.
Okay. Yeah, I would think so because it's so up in the air. I mean, it's not like a math equation where you like input this and this, and then you know that you're gonna get something. It's more, do you feel like it's done? Do you feel like something's missing? And that feels a little like scary, I guess. Just knowing like the pressure's on you to decide when this is, but it's also very rewarding and like almost leadershipy in a way. Like, oh, I get to decide when this is done. So it's, I guess, how you look at it. Okay, inspirations. I know we are all like our own worst critic, but I want to know, are you like an inspiration for yourself and or your motivation? Like, do you try to be that for yourself, or do you think you still try to look at other artists or other individuals aside from you in order to motivate and inspire you?
For the most part, who I am inspired by has always been Taylor. I love her songwriting. I love how she has carried herself in this industry and how graceful she's been with all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I adore that because I see myself struggling through the same things, and I don't think I would be ever able to do that the way that she handled all the criticism and all everything about her personal life.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people go through that in the industry, whether it's Loki, but she's someone that I'm inspired by. I would really love to be on that level at some point in my life.
Yeah, and I see the inspiration in many areas, from songwriting to the way you carry yourself. The red lipstick tells me it all.
Red lipstick is just there because I look dead with a pink nose.
No, but in a way that like you own it, you make it your style. It doesn't look like, oh, a Taylor Swift impersonation, but oh, ooh, she got a little Taylor in her. That's cute. So it's really cool how you can like make it your own. I think all artists need to learn that somewhere along the line in their journey of career or hobby. All right, so how do you interact and engage with fans but also keep a healthy boundary and balance?
This has been very interesting for me. I've met really creepy fans or like gotten creepy messages, and some of them are nice, some of them are really mean as well. I remember that there was this one fan that I started speaking to. I like being friends with my fans. I think I've gotten like I made my best friend, like a long distance best friend, who was a fan first, and then he became my best friend.
Aww.
A lot of other friends that I made through these from social media, but I remember that there was a fan that was so mean to me. I was speaking to him, and suddenly he goes like, "You know what, Anna? You're not popular because of your own self." And I was like, "Oh, this is so mean."
Oh my god.
And after that, I decided, okay, I'm gonna read my messages and only reply to people that are nice. And I will start deleting the ones that are so mean because I have this habit of going back and rereading all of that mean stuff.
Oh.
So I think at one point I decided, okay, this is the boundary we need to set. You need to just like remove if you see a if you see a mean message or a mean comment. You don't have to go back and read it. This is your profile. This is your space.
Yeah.
You can clean it of the hate.
Yeah.
But that is how I kept my boundary.
Yeah, it's really tough. In Pakistan, you guys don't have meet and greets. That's not a culture there yet, is it?
No, but I did keep one once.
Okay.
I think a lot of bigger artists keep it because you know that a lot of people will show up.
Yeah.
The difference in fans here and there is the level of how passionate they are about you as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people there abroad are very passionate about the people that they listen to. I don't think you get that level here.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's still so new. It's still developing, and the culture, people are trying to understand it, boundaries, respect, what it means to be a fan, what it means to be a stalker, what it means to be maybe a stan. So it's still developing, and there's almost this like entitlement when you are a supporter of someone. They feel like, oh, well, you owe this to me because I ultimately made you famous. I made you what you are today. And though that may be true on a scale, look at what you're receiving, look at what I'm giving you. You're not getting to touch me, you're not getting to harass me. You get to like be in my presence, which can be unsafe sometimes. So like appreciate that, please. I'm terrified right now.
Yeah. I think people forget that we're also humans at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just because like it's getting a little bit corporate now, so it's hard to see the human and the rawness also. You just see this very like polished and like perfect individual. So what can go wrong with them? I should be allowed to like, you know. Why am I telling you
Bully
this?
them.
It's like you know. Of course you know. Okay, let's talk about what has been your greatest challenge and your most fulfilling accomplishment since pursuing this.
Um, I think most of the issues that I face have been mental blocks. Um, for example, like since the start, I have been terrified of going up on the stage and being able to express myself freely. Um, that is something that I'm still learning to do. Like when I started my career, my first performance was just me looking at my shoes because I was so scared of what everybody would like, how everybody would react to or what everybody had to say about me. And I think that is something that I struggle with. But I think once that I get used to it, I love being on the stage. I think getting past the fear is also my biggest accomplishment that I'm
Mm.
doing this. I'm finally doing this.
Yeah.
And I get to do this.
Would you call yourself maybe, are you a social person? Are you an extrovert? Are you more on the introvert end?
I'm more on the introvert and I get very anxious and this is like my thing. I have a lot of anxiety. I get anxious around people or talking.
Yeah.
Just anything that has to do with talking. I get very anxious.
You chose a very interesting career.
I know.
It's
Sometimes I feel like I wasn't meant for this. That is something that goes on in my head. I was like, oh, maybe I'm very soft for this career. Maybe I should be doing this. Why did I select this?
if real quick, if not music, then what?
Then what? I really think that I could be a psychologist because I love to listen to people.
Yeah. Oh, I can totally tell that. Like you're like not cutting me off like some of my guys. So it's like, yeah, I can definitely see that in you. You have that quality soft skills. It's interesting because if you don't mind me sharing my experience with music and performing, I'm an extrovert. I go all out. As you can see, I am an interviewer, podcaster, like talking to people is my thing. But when I go onto stage, I freak out. My heartbeat gets really loud, really fast. I'm like shaking uncontrollably. Like you can put me in a straight jacket, I will like get that thing open still. Um, and I don't know what it is about. Like I think I usually don't care about what people think about me, but I think it's the fact that I don't know what they're thinking about me, positive or negative. Because as an audience, the culture is like, oh, you're quiet now and you're focusing on them. I would rather have tomatoes thrown at me as a sign that you're enjoying it or not. And that relieves me of some tension or anxiousness because it's like the unknown. I don't like that, which has been the toughest part of like, I guess you can say my career. Just like the stage, and that's where like most of the money is too. Like you're bringing in these fans and everything, and I'm just like, no, can't do it.
It is important to be a good entertainer. At least that's what I've heard. But a lot of people say that practice makes it better, but I don't think that's happening.
No.
Because every time you go on stage, it's the same feeling. You're feeling anxious. But I think it does get better. You learn the ways how to handle yourself.
Yeah.
You can acknowledge that you're feeling anxious. Yeah, I am feeling anxious. That's fine. But what am I gonna do about this now? How am I gonna entertain these people if they are getting bored? Also, I've learned to not look at people. Never look at them because you, even as me, as if I'm in the audience, maybe I am enjoying the performance, but I'm not very expressive.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's how they are as people, and even here, people are like that. They're not very expressive as the audience.
Yes.
So it's better not to focus on what they're thinking. Someone told me just imagine that you're in your bedroom and you're singing.
Okay.
That kind of helps.
Yeah, I'll try that. Okay, quick question before we move on to the next one. Do you think you have stage presence, or is that something you have to build? How do you tell even if you have stage presence?
I think it's in the reaction of the audience.
Okay.
If they're enjoying. Also, I think for it's a lot different when I see artists there and artists here. As an artist here, you have to just hype up the crowd.
Yes, it's all on
You
you.
can't relate to them. You have to keep that boundary with them. You can't tell them your personal things. For example, when you see Taylor or when you're seeing her on YouTube, when she's in a concert and she's speaking, you can relate to her. You can feel like, oh, you're there with her. You can, in some way or other.
Mm-hmm.
But here, there's a huge difference, and I would really love to do that and not this, which is scream in a mic and be like, "Hi, Lahore, what's up? What are you doing?" This
Yeah.
is so cringe for me.
Oh, I
But
know.
that is the big difference of stage presence here and there. This is cringe for me. I can't do this,
Yes.
and this is important here.
It almost feels like a lot of motivational speaking than it is performing. It's just like hyping them up, getting them all like the blood flowing, and like just like, why am I like a coach right now? I don't need to be like giving them a training session. I'm here to perform.
Well, that is a part. Well, that is a part of being an artist. You can be like, oh, hi, whatever, whatever. But getting you hyped up. Why am I getting you hyped up? Didn't you come here to watch me perform? You
Yeah.
should have been hyped up before.
So interesting. All right. Fill me in on what we are working towards. Is there an artist you would like to collab with, a certain genre you'd like to tap into, or maybe produce some mixed media? What do you want to do in the industry?
I am currently trying my best to leave this industry and go to the other one. I recently got selected for South by South Festival in Austin as a showcasing artist. Um, so that is what I'm looking towards currently, and making more music. I currently like my next song is supposed to be very pop rock. I
I'm
am
so
currently
excited.
doing I'm currently doing a lot of indie pop, or anything that has to do with pop, but that is something that I want to go towards because I feel like that's where also the industry is heading. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
going back into rock music.
Yeah.
Um, but that is where I'm heading towards now.
And when you say other industry, do you mean just like a different genre or like an
I
actual?
meant like the industry in America, like the music industry
Oh,
there.
okay, okay.
I
Oh my,
differentiate between our industry and that because there's a big language shift here and there.
okay. I did not know that, but that's really cool. I'm excited. Wait, excited to see you on the screens over there.
Thank you.
What changes would you like to see be made within the industry? In terms of like the process, in terms of like people, how things are handled, however, whatever. What would you like to be, what would you like to have changed?
Currently, I feel like I've seen from producers and artists, they're just releasing stuff for the sake of releasing stuff. They're not focusing on what they have to say in their songs or what the melodies sound like because everything apparently sounds the same these days. Um, they're just releasing songs because they want to put out music and for people to hear them and just get more streams. They're not focusing on the quality aspect of music.
Yeah.
That's kind of annoying for me. And the same with producers. I've seen people do not want to learn about what they're doing or the art they're producing. People are getting samples from the internet, and they're mostly like a copy of some other song or something, and they're gonna write over that. They're not even going to sing properly. They're just gonna auto tune their vocals and they're gonna put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's something that I would really like to see changing here at least.
Yes, I guess what you can say what you're saying is like a lot of um like copyright protection, a lot of more like uh authentic work from the ground up, not like BSing it. And yeah, I would say that that's something I would like to see a change overall in all um sorts of media. I think why it's so hard to regulate is because once again, art is so fluid. It's so hard to track, but I feel like that's not an excuse also to just allow anyone to steal someone's song, someone's work, someone's art, and just like write over it like it's a blank canvas because it's not. But that's a good one. We're down to our last question. Are you ready?
Okay.
how do you carry your image, whether it be an artist, a woman, a creative, and differentiate that from what the public sees you as and paints you as? So, what I'm trying to say, I guess, is how do you know when you're being Anna and when you're being an artist, and not to like mash the two in order to please other people?
I think I still struggle with that because it's very hard to separate the two. But I know I'm very confused how to answer this. Wait, could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, just like differentiating yourself from public image and knowing your own identity, because I think there's a difference from like I guess I'll say this. There's a public persona and then there's who
Mm-hmm.
you are as a person. So, is that different or are they the same person? One of them is just like captured on the internet while the other one has some private moments.
I think that I try my best to be as real as I can on the internet. Obviously, I don't share the really personal things because those are personal. You can't do that. But I feel like what people take from that or what I portray is not the best that I could because people think that I'm very closed off and that I might be mean or intimidating, which is not true. And in real life, I'm not that person. I'm very anxious. I love um, having people come up to me and being able to be nice to people is
Yeah.
something that I like, and I don't think people take away from that. So that is where I can differentiate myself.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's a tough one. I think whether you're in the public eye or not, I'm always like doubting myself. Am I authentic enough? Am I being true to myself? Am I adjusting to somebody else's um, preference or what have you? And I think just it's this balance of like wanting to be real but also not wanting to expose every bit of you to the public,
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to find that balance because I it's really hard when you do have things about yourself that you don't want to share and people would tell you, oh, you're just not real, you're not honest, you're a fake. When you're not those things, they're just some things you don't need to share, which is a tangent that I can go on and be another episode, but thank you for sharing that. um, those were all the questions I had. I don't know if you had anything you wanted to let the listeners know, if you wanted to let them know like your Instagram handle, when to expect some new releases.
Oh, well, I released a new song. It's called New York, so everybody should go listen to that.
Yes.
And my Instagram handle is Anna Salandar, which people think is Salamander, but it's not. Um, and yeah, I'm just looking forward to also releasing my new song, Miracle Worker, which should be out in the next month or so.
Excited.
But that is what I'm looking forward to. And thank you for everybody that is listening to this podcast. And thank you to you for
Oh,
having me here.
thank you. Well, thank you for taking out time. I know you're very busy, you have a lot going on. You got this career going for yourself. Um, And yeah, that was Anna, guys. So check her out, beautiful listeners. That cues the end of this episode.